Okay, so if you've even thought about upgrading the memory on your phone or your computer lately, you've probably had a serious case of sticker shock. I mean, the price of DRAM memory chips, the absolute lifeblood of our digital world, it's not just going up, it's exploding. And that's creating this huge crisis, but also a pretty historic opportunity. Let's get into it. So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at just how insane these prices have gotten. Then, we're going to figure out why. And spoiler alert, it's all about AI. After that, we'll see how this is knocking over dominoes in all sorts of industries. And then, this is the interesting part. We'll talk about the massive opportunity this has created before we wrap it all up with what could go wrong. All right, first things first. Let's really get a sense of just how big this price surge is. You see the subtitle here? Your next tech upgrade is about to get a whole lot more expensive. And I'm not talking about a little bump. The numbers here are honestly kind of mind-blowing. I mean, this quote just says it all, right? It's that feeling of disbelief. What used to be a pretty standard, affordable upgrade is now this huge expense where you have to ask yourself, is this even worth it? And the data behind that feeling? It's pretty staggering. Get this. In just the first quarter of 2026, the prices for the DRAM that goes into servers, PCs, and our phones shot up by 60 to 70%. That's not over a year, that's compared to the previous quarter. That is a massive, massive jump. And here's the kicker. Nobody is safe from this. Not even the biggest players. SK Hynix, one of the top suppliers, reportedly jacked up its prices to Apple by a full 100%. Just think about that for a second. Apple, they're one of the biggest chip buyers on the planet, they usually get the best deals, and even their costs just doubled. In some corners of the market, things have just gotten completely absurd. In Korea, a single box, one box of 100 memory sticks, was supposedly trading for the equivalent of 4 million Chinese yuan. That's enough to buy a couple of high-end luxury cars for a box of memory chips. So the key takeaway here is this isn't just a little shortage, it's a market that is in total shock. So, what on earth is causing this? What's driving this unprecedented crunch? Well, the answer really comes down to two letters: AI. Artificial intelligence has become this giant black hole for memory, and it's sucking it up at a rate that the industry was just not ready for. And this chart really puts it into perspective. It shows just how much one sector is dominating everything. By 2026, those AI-powered data centers are on track to eat up 70% of the entire world's DRAM supply. That leaves only 30% for literally everything else: our phones, our laptops, our cars, all of it. So why is the demand so crazy high? Well, it really just comes down to the hardware. A single AI server needs 8 to 10 times more memory than a regular old server. So as every company on Earth races to build out their AI capabilities, they're placing these monster orders that are on a completely different scale than anything we've ever seen before. And this kicks off a really nasty, vicious cycle. See, the AI boom needs this special, super profitable memory called HBM, or high bandwidth memory. So what do the manufacturers do? Well, Samsung and SK Hynix, they're not dumb. They shift their factories over to making more HBM, because that's where the money is. But the side effect? The supply of regular DRAM gets squeezed hard, and that creates these huge shortages that send prices through the roof for the rest of us. Okay, so this isn't just a problem for the tech industry anymore. This is a shockwave, and it's starting to rattle entire industries, one by one, like a set of dominoes. This quote from the founder of the electric car company NIO, it just sums up the whole problem perfectly. The car industry, which uses, less than 10% of the world's DRAM, just can't get in a bidding war with giants like Amazon or Google. They simply can't compete. They get shoved to the back of the line. And the smartphone market is feeling this pain big time. The total cost to actually build a smartphone, they call it the bill of materials, is expected to jump by 25% in 2026. And a huge chunk of that is because of memory. And you can bet that extra cost is going to get passed right down to us. And it's already forcing some really tough choices. Oppo, which is a huge global smartphone brand, has already had to cut its 2026 shipping forecast by 20%. They just can't make the numbers work with these soaring costs, so they have to actually scale back how many phones they plan to make. But here's where the story pivots, because in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And this massive supply gap has created a once-in-a-generation opening. And there's a group of Chinese manufacturers who are moving incredibly fast to jump right into that void. This is where things get really, really interesting. Just look at these numbers. Changxing Technology, after losing more than 43 billion yuan, with a B, is now looking at a profit of up to 3.5 billion. Other companies like Baiwei Storage and Daming Li are seeing profit growth of over 400%, even over 1,000%. I mean, this is a stunning, incredibly powerful turnaround, and it's all fueled by this supply vacuum.
And they are not sitting back and enjoying the ride. Oh no, they're doubling down. Changxin is trying to raise almost 30 billion yuan, that's over $4 billion US dollars, in an IPO specifically to build more factories. This isn't about survival anymore. This is about seizing a historic chance to take on the big guys.
So that's the big question, right? How long can this super cycle actually last? And if you're looking at this as a potential market opportunity, what are the risks you need to be watching out for? Well, if you're waiting for more supply to bring prices down, you're going to be waiting for a while. As you can see here, the big new factories from Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, they won't really be up and running until late 2027 or even 2028. So that suggests this tight market could easily stick around for another 2, maybe 3 years. But, and this is a huge but, it's not a slam dunk. There are some serious risks here. Geopolitics could mess everything up in a heartbeat. And all those new factories we just talked about, that is a classic double-edged sword. After 2027, when all that new supply finally hits the market, we could see things flip from a massive shortage to a massive glut, and prices could crash just as fast as they rose. So at the end of the day, what we're really seeing is AI completely redrawing the map of the entire semiconductor industry. This DRAM supercycle is a huge problem for a lot of people, but it's also a golden ticket for others. And it really makes you wonder, when all the dust settles on this new landscape, who's actually going to be left standing as the winner?